always time to talk SEC football with Brent Beaird, and we do that right now. Brent, how you doing this morning?
Trev, I'm doing good. Speaking of playlists, there's a real sense of loss down here about Tom Petty.
Oh, yeah.
As you can imagine, especially in the Gainesville area where he came from. And on a lighter note, I've got a topic for Pops on Point. Trev, it's only the fourth day of October, and I'm already sick of pumpkin spice. That there was I saw pumpkin spice in Cheerios, Trav, earlier, and I just thought, can we draw the line on that somewhere? So I figured Pops on Point would have some opinions about that.
Yeah, we'll get Pops' thoughts on pumpkin spice. It is that time of year. There's no doubt about it. And it seems to get here, as you said, earlier and earlier. My. It's becoming like Christmas, shopping. Yeah, pumpkin spice has become the new Christmas shopping time of year, it seems like. Brent, as we move into another weekend of Southeastern Conference football, the perception of the league right now, you tell me what you think about this, is that it is essentially a three-team league with little else. A lot of mediocre to bottom feeder type teams in this league right now. Is that kind of the way it looks to you?
Well, it's hard to disagree with that, frankly. That with Alabama and Georgia obviously in the top two, and I think people are still trying to figure out where to put Florida in that mix. If they beat LSU and A&M, I think you can certainly look at them as more of a contender than a pretender. And then obviously you've got Auburn at that point too. But yeah, you're right. But after you get to that point, a lot of it I think is lazy coaching hires over the last few years, and some developing quarterbacks that go along with it. And listen, the problem is some of these teams may be quicker to go into the bottom feeder than they are toward the upper echelon of the league.
Yeah, that's the big problem right now, is that you've got a team like Texas A&M that has won 4 straight.
Right.
And has Alabama coming to College Station this weekend. And yet I don't sense any belief from any angle that this A&M team is legitimately competitive with the likes of Alabama and Georgia or even Auburn to this point. It's in other years, if a team like A&M was 4-1 going into this game, it seems like there would be a lot more buzz about it, wouldn't there?
Well, and I think the reason for that is it's 2 reasons. People know that about this time of year that A&M usually starts on that mid-season to November funk that they get into, where after they play Alabama that they just can't win. And I think the other thing is you've got a freshman quarterback in Kellen Mond compared to the veterans they've had over the last few years when they played Alabama, particularly like last year. So the thought process is, can they now they won't be as one-dimensional as Ole Miss, because with Trayon Williams they can run, and when you look at the defensive stats, the thing that you see is the fact that they lead the league in sacks and tackles for loss. But I mean, Trav, is that reality or is that fool's gold as far as John Javis's defense?
Well, the problem for A&M is that the lasting image, the last time the rest of college football really checked in on A&M was a standalone Sunday night game, the first weekend of the season, when everyone, Brent, that even remotely follows college football was watching, and they laid the egg of all eggs against UCLA in that third quarter, that fourth quarter of that incredible comeback by the Bruins. When we look at Alabama's 3 October opponents, I asked this question yesterday. I had a poll question on it on the personal Twitter account. The 3 October opponents for Alabama, just looking at the coaches, you got Kevin Sumlin this week, Arkansas comes to town with Brent Beaird. And then to wrap up the month, because the bye week is the last weekend for Alabama in October, Butch Jones comes to town with Tennessee. I'm going to ask you, Brent Beaird, of those three coaches, which one, those three October coaches that Alabama will face, which one, in your opinion, is most likely to still be in his current job when the 2018 season gets underway?
Well, I would say probably right now, Bielema, and because, and what I've been told from people close to that state and that program is there are about three families, Trav, that the Walmart folks, the Tyson chicken people, and there's one more that like Bielema because he hasn't embarrassed them like Petrino did when he was there. But the thing that I've also heard is the fact that Jerry Jones is getting tired of it, and he has said that he's willing to get the money together and make a change. So I guess I'm simply going to say Bielema just because even though they're not playing great at this point, that he doesn't have the fans that have torches and pitchforks like Butch Jones does. But look, it could. And the reality is, someone we thought could go may end up saving his job, and who knows? By the end of the year, the other two could be gone.
Yeah, kind of the saving grace for both Bielema and someone is that I think both of their buyouts are north of $12 million right now.
Yes.
And Bielema's drops to under $12 million in January. And let me ask you this: with all the money that these athletic departments are bringing in now with the SEC network and all those things, is that even a big number anymore, Brent? I mean, it was a huge number 5-6 years ago. But with the money being what it is now, is $12 million really a lot of money for these schools to buy these guys out?
And listen to the numbers I've got in the notes we share. Orgeron's buyout's $12 million. Bielema's is 15. 15. Yeah, can you believe 12? Bielema's is 15, and Butch's is 9. Now, see, the problem is, as you know, that you throw the assistant coaches in there, and that's going to pay what, Trav? Another $2 or $3 million on those numbers at least. But here's the reality of it: in business now, particularly if you're Tennessee, Travis, if you're the guy in the ticket office, how do you sell that program if you keep him?
Yeah, when you start doing the math on empty seats, on season ticket sales, and what you're losing, it probably reduces the size of that number in terms of the equation of do we make this move or do we go status quo? Because from that standpoint, there's no way I can imagine, barring just a miraculous turnaround of this season, Butch Jones still being in Knoxville. You can't sell that. You can't sell Butch coming back in any form or fashion. Whereas someone, if the Aggies are competitive Saturday night, I think that would still do him some good. Sure. But even beyond that, over the second half of the season, as you alluded to earlier, you can't have one of these just total train wrecks that they've had the last couple of last few second halves of the season. Now, as we look at the league as a whole this week, biggest game, is it LSU, Florida? When you look at records, you would think Alabama A&M, but for a number of reasons, it seems like a lot of the attention, a lot of the focus will be down there in Gainesville as an embattled Coach O suddenly is taking that Tigers team to a venue that they were supposed to go to a year ago, leveraged the hurricane situation to get the home game, which they then lost in November, gave Orgeron the permanent head coaching job anyway with that $12 million buyout that you touched on, even though they were negotiating against no one. I mean, Joe Oliva was negotiating against no one with Ed Orgeron. What do you think of this game? I mean, this looks like a game that Florida should win. But the Gators haven't been as dominant or as consistently impressive as I'm sure a lot of that fan base would like.
No, but they have shown some improvement. I mean, the big picture here is for Florida that they've got LSU and A&M coming up. If they can split that series, that would give them only one loss in the conference. Georgia's going to be undefeated, so that's just a pretty nice game here in Jacksonville. But as far as the game, now you've got no Luke Del Rio as far as a kind of a safety valve to use. So you've got to be able to go with Felipe Franks, who's got a strong arm, but can also make a lot of freshman mistakes. But Florida is running the ball much better with Malik Davis, and that's about making a big difference. And Trav, the thing that came out today for LSU, and I do think they'll play better than they did against Troy. But the two things here, one is you and I know when Troy runs for 200 yards on you, how quickly can you fix that? And the other thing is that came out a few minutes ago is Joe Oliva, the AD, has this meeting with O and the coordinators on Monday, and they all admit that, well, we ran Insminger's offense in the first half. Now we're running Canada's offense in the second half. So we're going back to that. So, Trev, you put all that in a hat, you bring it out. What does that give you?
It gives you LSU is what it gives you right now. Amazing. No doubt about that. Well, Brent, I know you got to get on to some other things. As always, we really appreciate you joining us here on the program. Look forward to doing it again next week when we'll recap the upcoming weekend and look ahead to Alabama, Arkansas, and whatever else this league can throw at us, it seems like these days.
It'll be amazing. And yes, I'll be very curious, Pop's comments on pumpkin spice.